seem to be anything going on at all right now. I'm just interested in learning as much as what's going on in Europe.
And Sarah, we're just saying why we're here at this workshop in Wisdom.
I'm Sarah West from Sydney, Australia. I'm from the water industry and the eco-village movement, and I'm interested in bringing local currencies into my state, into New South Wales, and particularly working with the municipal councils in relation to setting up work systems and more jobs.
Great, so it's my, sorry, you.
Sorry I'm late, I got into a conversation, which is hard to avoid. I live in Quito, Ecuador, and I'm very interested in all of the different variations of currencies that is happening in Europe, because Ecuador has a bunch of let's groups, like 80 different groups that are trying to work entirely below the radar. They don't want anybody to know about what they're doing. But Ecuador badly needs things at a higher level, with a certain middle class. And so what I'm trying to do is find out all of the techniques that are possible in order to communicate it to the people who would be able to do that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's my turn to tell you why I'm giving exactly this workshop and this title. First of all, I am organizing a European conference on complementary currencies next month in July in Germany. This is the flyer. So while we were in contact with Chris Lindstrom, we decided we just have to create a bridge between our two continents, and we have to make sure that we have a flow of information and good exchange. So there's actually a couple of people at this conference, especially the UK crew, and Chris and Susan, who will be coming to Germany. So that's one of the reasons. That's the bridging aspect, and you're welcome to take the flyer. I'll mention the difference towards the end of my presentation. And the other reason is that as I said, we have to somehow make sure that we connect not only at there's let's say an increasing polarization between our two continents, and if we can get together and work together on this level, I think that can contribute to greater understanding of the projects I'll be talking about are in an initiative stage. Many of them are in the planning stage that has not been implemented and has not been given results. But what I believe is that once things are born in our minds, it takes maybe a couple of years until they are really on the table or in the pockets where you can touch them and use them. So I present you some indicators and some tendencies that I see happening on the European scene of complementary currencies. So I invite you to take a look into my crystal ball and let's see what we see there, and let's see what the future might look like. There are 4 parts of my presentations. I'll briefly say what do I mean by mainstreaming, and then we will have a short trouble for Europe, short map of Europe, and I'll tell about a couple of examples, and I will not mention time banks or a LED system at all, because this is just such a wide field, and I think we all know a lot about it, but many of the projects I mentioned are linked to LEDs. And then what's the new ideas, what's the new settings? I will mention also the German scenes, because we're really experiencing a boom of complementary currencies in Germans. And if we have time, as part of the mainstreaming of the currencies idea, I'll explain the big EU proposals that Margaret and I have submitted to the European Union to support development of 4 regional currencies. But I'm not quite sure if we have the time. So I've tried to come up with a series of indicators that would mean an increased connection to the mainstream. And I very much believe that if complementary currencies are to make a difference, and are to make a difference that stays, we have to get to the existing structures and change them from within. And I also believe that there are signs that governmental organizations and administrations are open enough to accept these new impacts coming from the bottom up.
Excuse me.
So,
would you mind just?
I have to.
And while he's talking, can I just get you, I think it's not turned on.
It's not turned on.
On the box there. There should be a little switch.
Is it turned on now?
Allow me to check.
Quality partnerships or stable partnerships with the social economy sector. That would be anything from cooperatives, mutuals, foundations, associations, organizations who look for who take care of the benefit of all. Financial institutions, whether again mutual credit associations or banks. Increased participation and interest from businesses, and not only from small and medium-sized enterprises, but also from larger corporations. Use of the currency as a financial instrument, investment, and so on. Use of technology, there are some very interesting developments I'll mention. And in general, the alignment with the EU's social cohesion and employment policy. That's the aspect I'll talk about towards the end of the presentation. So we can start with the short Tour d'Europe, Tour de France. We'll look at an initiative in France that's been in the stage of preparation first for the last, I think, year and a half at least. And what they are trying to do is they are very well linked to the social economy actors in France, and that's something that's very strong in France. And what they do is they link up to the existing networks of foundations and cooperatives, and have built up partnerships with a credit union in France and with Chèque Déjeuner. That's the lunch tickets in France, very, very strong and very popular institution. They have plan of introducing a smart card that would work with points, and the smart card would then also be, well, you could use it in a terminal in any shop or in any organization. So what they say is they want to create many different circuits of circulation. One is from organization to organization. Another one is from business to business. And that's how they can get customer loyalty from the public. They would like to link it with the Solidaire. That's the biggest. That's the umbrella organization of the local exchange systems in France. And there is not much information about this project yet, but they are aiming at starting a pilot project in the city of Lille, aiming at approaching 6,000 people. They'd like to start towards the end of this year. So, 6,000 people as a pilot project, but actually they like to expand it to be used at a national level. Italy. Well, Italy is a very interesting case. There is one of the oldest complementary currency systems in Italy that's 25, 30 years old, the Credito and the community of Damanhur in North Italy. They have started, as I said, in the late 80s. Sergio and I, we've been there at the conference they've organized at the subject of community currencies, and I don't remember the title actually, but they have tried to create a network of complementary currencies and link it to community already in the late 90s. So they are one of the pioneers of complementary currencies in Europe. It's 1,200 people using the currency, and they use it exclusively. It's a closed circuit of shops and people living in a semi-abandoned valley that have decided to implement it, and they have done. They were, I think, one of the first that have put the euro or put the lira back in one pot and use it as an investment and create circuits of vouchers and coins among themselves. These coins which you see here, not the one with this is a Danish coin from the town of Christiania in Copenhagen. This is Denmark, but the ones behind, that's the coins of Damanhor, of the creditor. So that's one of the oldest, except the oldest in the post-war history of Europe. Creditor in early 80s. Then there is one of the youngest one, the Eco Aspromonte in Italy. I'll mention it in a moment. This is just an overview. And what's the other initiative or research that's happening in Italy, that's research led by Luca Fantacci from the Bocconi University in Milan. He and his colleagues are looking into the history of local and regional currencies in Europe from 800 to 1800. They're preparing a publication about it that will come out this year, and they are researching the connection of, or they've created a company that has a proposal for the larger corporation of how larger corporations can use complementary currencies to enhance their social responsibility. This is just a proposal. It has not been implemented yet, but I think it's very interesting if we look at tendencies that actually there are people who already start to think in that dimension. Now, Eco Aspromonte, you see that's what it looks like. That's the banknotes. They are printed in 1, 2, 5, and 10 denominations. They went into a lot of. They organized a competition to make the design of the currency. And since it's been implemented in a national park, the motives, the artwork on the notes are related to nature and animals and plants. Because the Ethical Bank of Italy is behind it, and there are some personal connections between the administration of the national park and Banca Etica, they were able to get a backup from the Ethical Bank in form of 2 million euros, and the currency was launched last December in the stock exchange market of Milan, and it was, as it says there, minted by the State Printing and Coinage Institute of Italy. It has all the security marks that you need to have it circulated. It's legal. There's just nothing fake about it. The national park of Aspromonte is, it's not like here in the States where you actually are allowed to come in on certain conditions and you're not allowed to live there. People actually live there. There are 38 small municipalities in the park, and there are plenty of local businesses and food production going on in there. So the currency at the moment is not really spread all over the park yet, but it is. It's accessible to 50,000 euros in 60 shops and 15 villages.
And how do people get hold of the currency?
There are some. The shops actually, there are a couple of exchange places, and that are marked in a special way. Here you can get your Ecos Promonte. And what they have done now, in order to establish the use of the currency, is to make arrangement with these 60 shops and say, please only accept the Ecos Promonte until November this year. So they actually trying to diminish the circulation of euro and only have the circulation of Aspromontes. So, as I said, that's the way of grounding it in a way.
Excuse me, they're backed by the euro.
Yeah, it's 1-to-1 to euro. But you can, if you use the Ecos Promonte for shopping, you get 5% discount. And yes, it's in November 2004.
And so what happens after that?
Sorry? Well, they print new, and you just exchange them. Or of course, tourists are inclined to take it as souvenirs. That's a great trick that many complementary currencies projects profit from. That's good. And well, I think the credibility aspects is related to Banca Etica. Banca Etica is a relatively new bank, but with a lot of success. I think the capital at the moment is 2.7 billion euro, and 5% of the Italian populations have bank accounts in the Banca Etica. So, they are behind it, and they actually in their banks all over Italy, you can get information about this project. And they actually said, we'd like to support introduction of local currencies in all over Italy. If you want to start it, come to us. So
how wide is the redeemability there
Redeemability?
for the currency? Like if you're in that area, can you spend it anywhere, or is it just
Well,
certain shops?
At the moment, 60 shops, and that's restaurants, bars, cafeterias, food producers. I'm not quite sure how many shops there really are in that area. I don't know.
Can you point out
Yeah.
exactly where it is?
Well, so this is the park, 77,000 hectares of land, and that's on the tiptoe of the shoe. So it's in the region of Reggio Calabria. Very young, very dynamic project. Yes.
What's the incentive?
What?
What's the incentive for people to sign up for the incentive?
Incentive. Local patriotism, let's say, support of local production. There's a website about the Aspromonte Park, and you'll see it's in English and in Italian, and you'll see a long list of local producers. And the idea behind it is to support the existence of those local producers. And of course, to bind the currency into the territory. It's been, I think, in in January, they had 6 shops that accepted the currency. Now they have 60, so exponential growth.
And is it only for buying and selling, or is there any savings?
No, there aren't really any saving mechanism yet. No, not yet. But
More about the Banca Etica. Do they do fractional reserve banking, or is it one-to-one reserve? I'm just curious. I've never heard of it.
what I know is that they have they're into social investment, and they have got the capital to be able to start a bank by approaching existing cooperatives in Italy. So instead of scratching here and there, they went to the cooperative movement in Italy and got the capital really quickly.
Is it a government thing?
No, it's private. Yeah. And Germany, Margaret mentioned it in her keynote, that we're really experiencing a boom of commercial voucher currencies. At the moment, there are about 50 initiatives. However, I think it's about 5 or 7 who really got off the ground. But the interest is really, really, really high. And the model that we're talking about in Germany, it's the voucher systems Well, what we actually try to achieve in Germany is that you have a system, the whole, let's say, an integral economic approach that is exchange people and businesses. We try to have business-to-business exchange and a regional fund. So that's the whole system we're trying to implement. That's not happened yet, but that's the model Margaret and a couple of others are promoting. And in terms of partnerships, those 50 initiatives, what they are trying to do before really printing the vouchers is they try to approach local authorities, regional authorities, and ask them, would you be willing to be part of it? Instead of just printing and distributing, they try to do the groundwork first and get the bridge between private and public in place first. So this is a map from January. A lot has happened since then, but as I said, those projects who started off the ground are the most important. Many initiatives have been added to that picture, and that's the Chiemgauer, that's another project. I mean, the model, the way the complementary currency look in Germany are vouchers. Germans are used to have hard cash in their pockets probably because of the Deutschmark, but also, I mean, electronic currency or electronic payments. That's not really like, I don't know exactly why, but German wants to have it in their hands. And also what all those 50 initiatives really believe in, they think that's the solution, that's demurrage. We could discuss whether complementary currencies and demurrage, whether that's really useful, whether that makes money circulate or not. But you can see in a couple of those vouchers, that's how they try to explain to people what happens to money if it stays in the pocket. There is another, you can punch those months here and indicate the validity. That's the Chiemgauer, the currency that I'll mention in a moment, where you put stamps, really like the Virgo scripts.
That's
so.
the stuff that Margaret mentioned about the alternative motivation for circulation.
Yeah, yes, demurrage. And that's mainly to this gentleman here, Silvio Gesell, who was German. So Germany is like, what? Oh, he was German. Yeah, well, yes. Well, I do believe that, Eloisa, yeah, the real innovation, it happens in Brazil and Argentina. That's the place where it comes from. Yeah. So in September last year, we have created a network of all those initiatives because the demand for information was just so huge that we just said that this is just impossible to give consulting to each one of them. And we've created a self-supportive network of initiatives. There's a website about it in German only. We meet every 3 months to exchange information and to, get person-to-person contact and to talk about the newest developments and see how do we move forward, how do we tackle the press work and how do you call it? Publicity, exactly. There's been a lot of, there's almost one article about complementary currency in the major German newspapers a week. So it's a real boom. And why? I'm not sure if you're aware of that. We have a strong crisis of the welfare system. The old social democrats' ideal of connecting the technology and the industrial development with the social welfare is just not holding anymore. Germany has an unemployment of about, I think, 10% on a national scale, and in some of the eastern provinces, up to 25%. So it's devastating, and Germans are not really used to having a crisis. They haven't had any crisis since the war, not on this scale like right now. So that leads to general lack of trust in the system, and all those people who are in the network, that's mostly from the NGO system, are trying to see whether they can help their local businesses and people from the area, and not rely so much on the system. German economy, I mean, there is no sign that it will recover. The budget for the next year has been done by privatization and by using the funds of the old Marshall Plan funds that are still there. But because of the compound interest, those funds have grown up to 12 billions of euros at the moment. And the Minister of Finance said, oh, I can just take 3 billions and it'll still be okay. So he did that, but he is actually, he just put it together hoping that some kind of investment will come in later, but it's really a poker game. And that all leads to Germans losing self-confidence. Last week on the European football thing, Germans lost to Czech Republic. I mean, Germans losing to an Eastern country. I mean, can you imagine? This cannot get worse. This is, this is the end of the world. Yeah. So this is one of the very popular examples. This is the project, the Chiemgauer, that's been getting the most of the publicity lately. It actually started as started in Steierberg after one of the lectures of Bernard in Steierberg at the conference we were organizing. It's again a voucher currency, and they are planning to use an e-card, and that's going to be a normal bank card, where with a special software connection or pressing a button, you actually, instead of withdrawing the euros from your bank account, it's going to go from your Chiemgauer account. So they will be able to use it electronically. They plan a regional fund, but with a circulation of 20,000 euros at the moment, it's not really realistic yet, but that's the idea. And the regional fund will be done with the help of the GLS Bank. That's one of the ethical banks in Germany. GLS, it's really hard to explain what it means. It's a community giving and something else. GLS.
It's a German name, isn't it?
Yes, it's German.
Maybe it's better to write it and somebody.
Yeah, GLS Bank. It's easy, GLS. Yeah. So this project is about 2 years old at the moment, and it functions in Bavaria. 120 shops and producers, some circuits of suppliers and producers, but not really many. Most of the cases, the currency is bought at certain shops, and those girls actually started it. So they sell it, and it comes back to them. So there isn't really such a strong establishment of the currency yet. Yeah, Margaret mentioned it, and it started as a school project because Christian Gallery, the founder, said we need to have a established structure in order. We can't just start out of the blue. We need a established structure to help us with it. So he said, why don't we do a school project? So he got those 6 girls, and they started off. The-
town is it?
It's in Prien, it's Bavaria. Bavaria in Prien. It's a town of maybe 30,000 inhabitants, and the aspect of the regional currency, I mean, they do plan expansion to other towns of Bavaria.
When you say 150 members,
Yeah.
only members can use this?
Yes, because Germans are a little bit afraid of the legality issue, and they say, until we're really sure that the central bank or the German bank don't come after us, we'd like to have a certain security, and you have to become a member of the association to use the currency. But
So if it's done that way, then the legal issues are not as...
not really. They say they want it for control, and the legal issues are you can print vouchers in Germany as long as you don't as you clearly make as you say these are vouchers and the value of it is 20 euros or something like that. That's okay. But if they would if the size of it would the size of the circulation would increase, then they're afraid they could get into trouble with the central bank. So that's why they are preparing the use of e-card, because the rules for the electronic currencies are much more relaxed. Yeah.
And what's the number of transactions that might occur a year between members and the users of currencies?
I don't have those figures. They don't have them either themselves. They don't. No. But as I said, at the moment it comes out and comes back.
Sure.
So, right next to Chiemgauer, the Project Star. That's personally my favorite because it is a time bank, also in Bavaria, with I think 150 members. And through the work in our network, they said, well, we could also do something like that, but we want to keep our ideals of community, of getting together and exchanging simple things. So they came up with a model that is, let's say, for 100 stars is 70 euros plus 3 hours. So you can actually, and only if you have plus on your time account, you can purchase those vouchers. You're not allowed to go in minus with your hours account. And 100 stars is equivalent to 100 euros. And I think it's just great because you actually give people who have a lot of time, unemployed and elderly, but who do not have that much money, you actually give them an extra purchase power. And they can, again, enter into the systems, and the shops have more customers, and they have, yep.
Which kind of activities are required for getting 3 hours?
I mean, it's the usual thing, hair cutting, cutting the grass, massage, helping, teaching, cleaning, I mean, whatever, can be anything. Yeah, yes. They have an online system. It's like, it's PHP based, where you can go in and you see all the members, you see what they offer, you can book in, and they get a message and then they respond. And it's booming. It started, this is just a pilot project that finishes now in June, but there are 30 new shops who have joined this network in these 6 months, so they will go on with the star system.
Another question: where in Bavaria is it taking place?
It's right next to the Austrian border. Right in that little
So from
tip.
Munich, further than Prien.
2 hours from Munich.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have good partnerships with the regional employment agency, so they are okay with legality and all that stuff.
Who issues the time
It's an
hours?
it's an
If they're
association.
going to negative,
It's an association that issues that.
So is the grassroots thing?
Yeah. Yes.
but
There's two systems here, sorry.
This is two systems together in one. Yeah.
But if the association issues it and someone cuts my grass,
Yeah.
how do I acknowledge it?
Oh, you have the confirmation of the two, of the giver and the taker. They you have to have a
But then I
you
will
have the
go into
debit.
negative because I issue it, right?
Yeah, but you have to have your accumulated hours in order to buy the vouchers. Otherwise, I mean, if you just part of the time bank, it's okay. You can go to minus. But if you want the voucher, you have to have plus. Yeah. Well, the latest thing in Germany is that a common savings and loan bank would like to issue a currency similar to the VIR system, which would work between companies. They want to approach 4,000 to 5,000 small and medium-sized enterprises in a region of Eastern Germany. Interestingly enough, this Sparkasse was founded by Hermann Delitzsch. That's one of the pioneers of the cooperative movement in Germany in the 18th century. That's the same place, and now they actually going back to it and try to reestablish it. They will have an online banking system combined with a card. And I don't know how they do it, but they say would like to link the LETS systems onto it. So again, we have an agglomeration of many different systems in one. This is also, they are at the moment in the process of a feasibility study and say how many companies do we need in order to make profit.
What's B2B?
Sorry? Business to business. So just to give you an overview, and this is really this is something new and something that I personally think gives a lot of hope are the partnerships with banks. The Ecos Promonte with Ethical Bank, the Chiemgauer and the cooperation with the GLS Bank and the Savings and Loan Bank in Delitzsch, Sparkasse Delitzsch. And in case of the SOL project, the French mutual credit cooperative. I don't think we've seen that many complementary currencies projects in partnerships with established banks yet. So I think it tells something about the dimension of the developments at the moment. The new aspects, the new tendencies I mentioned at the beginning is more focus on business and small businesses, the awareness of a regional dimension, the awareness of, in order to make really good circuits of products and supply, you have to have a dimension that's not just local. It also means losing the face-to-face contact. I mean, the buzzword that comes in here is, sustainable consumption rather than community, or maybe both. In the case of a star, you have both. A couple of projects start to approach major corporations, as I mentioned in Italy and maybe in Spain. I'll come to that in a moment. And we have models that actually combine different systems within one. The idea of clearinghouse that until now, or the way Bernard explained it, was, let's say, LETS in Spain can exchange or can transfer their points with LETS in Germany. We have it now in one system. You can combine, like in the case of STAR, you have time and euros or complementary currencies. Hi, Bernard. I was just talking about you. About you. No. And we have systems that actually use different media of support. The Sparkasse Delitzsch will use card and an online system. The STAR again uses paper and online. The SOL system will use online and a card. So it's just it's the result of the technological development. I think that combining these different media and still being able to track the transactions, that's something we probably weren't able to do 3 years ago, but today it's possible. These are the new tendencies I see in. Okay.
Why do you think it's happening? The new tendency is coming up.
Why? Why is it happening? Yes, I believe the euro is one aspect that people really are feeling the factor of losing the grip of money. I mean, there is less and less money in circulation. In Berlin, in the city of Berlin, they actually have a shortage of cash in the shops. They aren't, in many cases, unable to give you the change. And the prices, in the worst cases, the prices in Germany went up with 70% after the introduction of euro. And that's the maximum. So that sucked a lot of capital from below to the global level. And the awareness or the need of looking for new solutions is just very obvious in France, Europe, Italy. And also, countries like Italy and France and Spain are very strong in the cooperative movement. That's another aspect, that they are actually in the same situation with shortage of cash and looking for solutions. Yeah, sure.
Two little factors that may have lever of two. One phenomenon which has not been widely talked about in Europe, but is a fact. For example, the stock market crash in America has meant for the Germans the loss of the savings equivalent to 2 yearly GNPs. And most of that money was, quote unquote, black money.
Mm-hmm.
The savings,
most
of the Germans would keep part of their savings, in the normal system, and they would have Luxembourg or somewhere else tax savings. Okay? And all the tax savings money was put in the stock market and markets. So you had suddenly a major shock.
Mm.
In addition to that, the economy, the traditional economy, not the black economy that I was talking about, is definitely most of the trouble in Germany. We have the process that been started in Germany about 3-4 years ago with, currently there's not enough money for paying the teachers, there's not enough money for paying, social securities, all that stuff. Everybody is being squeezed at the same time in the conventional system because the economy is in trouble. There is an adjustment. All the new investment of the German companies are in China, just like in Japan.
Yeah, after Japan.
After,
So you're getting into
after
the
Japan.
plan.
We are now getting where Japan was in 1990.
Yes.
Well, 92, 93.
So that is
In terms
what
of
you
mental
said.
framework.
You can learn from the Japanese investment, right?
That's exactly. You were pioneers.
Bad aspect.
But also pioneers in the solution, which is what's up right now.
There is also such psychological aspect of the unit of one.
You're inclined to think in one instead of 50s. 2 years ago, the exchange course between Deutschmark and Euro was 0.97. Today, in most of the cases, you can actually say it became 1-to-1. And prices have gone up because we are inclined to psychologically let's say, instead of giving 50 cents that we would have given 1 Deutschmark for something 3 years ago, today we give €1. So that again sucks a lot of money from the bottom up.
That's the thing we experienced in Ecuador.
Yeah, dollarization.
Everybody wanted to sell whatever they had for $1 at least.
Yeah, yes.
Even if
And
it
the
was
same,
30 cents before, now it was $1.
the same in Argentina back then. But we have the European Union, and they're going to save us. No, well, what is interesting is that the European Union is very much aware of these developments, and the buzzwords of the programs that they are publicizing in the last years is, investing in people, social cohesion, trying to find local solutions to local problems, try to support any local initiative that has to do with employment, promote equal opportunities, whether between men and women, disabled people or elderly, etc. There are a couple of complementary currencies projects in Europe that have got the European funding in the recent years. I might not know all of them, but definitely Welsh Institute of Community Currency, Nus Papas and Barataria. Richard Doubtwaite was part of that. And Let's in Austria, it's Vorarlberg, 400 people in the Let's system. And Moneta, Money Network Alliance, we have just submitted a proposal under... What? Go back? Are you aware of any other? No.
There's been a fair amount of EU funding for academic research.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, is that research available on the internet?
This is not...
That's research that the European Union does. Is that accessible from the citizen of Europe?
Yes, it's all on the internet. It's all public. So Moneta, that's Margaret and me, we've submitted a proposal under the title, let's say, a heading, Innovative Approaches to the Management of Change. What is that change in the language of the European Union? That's all what Bernard mentioned the other day. Changing flexibility, increased flexibility of the employment and labor markets, changing from the industrial to information society, implementation of the euro, expansion of the European Union. They're very much aware of the social and economic implications of that change in Europe and globally. And the approach that they are trying to take, at least what regards the European Social Fund, that's one of the oldest funds within the European Union, functioning since 1957, is to take a territorial approach. And that's, they are actually giving funding especially to depopulated areas where you have decline in traditional activities, mainly due to monoculture or certain industries that have taken over, and now the industries have to move to Eastern Europe or Asia in order to make some kind of profit, and that's the, sector's decline. So they are looking into supporting certain regions in Europe, and also especially the regions that are on the border to the new EU members countries. So Bavaria is one of those regions, for example, and Austria, and Steiermark and Austria too. So we've tried to come up with a proposal that would fit into this picture of the call for proposal, and we've tried to present complementary currencies as an anticipation mechanism to the change, to the structural change. And we've tried to show the relevance to the businesses, to the cultural aspects, and the social, trying to point out that not just it's not about separation, but it's about local development and increasing capacities and changing the focus from the global to the local or regional again. That can help particular regions to get over the structural change. So we call this proposal Monetic Incentive Systems, Proactive Management Tools for Structural Change in Regional Economies. And if they don't like it, I don't know what they want. So we tried to come up with a mainstream title that it's in their language, and try to try to make it appealing. Part of the proposal, we plan to implement 4 pilot projects. I mentioned a couple of those. Credito in Damanhur, Italy. The idea there would be to create a mutual credit union that would work both with euros and with the creditors on a non-interest or low-interest base. They will try to reach about 19,000 people, or they estimate that with that credit union in the area, they can reach 19,000 people. This is still not the region that Margaret and Bernard are talking about, but still, it's increase in size. And as I mentioned, it is a bioregion. Yes, yes, it's
That's actually a good example.
Yeah.
Kandla
Mm.
and Kingal, these 3 are
Yeah.
actually
Yes.
bioregions.
Yes, that's right. And the Valley of Valchiusella in Italy, it's Piemonte in Italy. It's a semi-abandoned valley with the big industries that have left the valley. That's Olivetti, and at the moment Fiat is in real trouble. In the 60s, people were leaving the area to go to Turin and Milan to find work. And at the moment, you have elderly population. And these people in Damanhur in Italy trying to revitalize the area and try to preserve some skills and some economic activities. Vulkanland in Austria, that's on the border to Slovenia, I think. I'm not very familiar with the geography of the region, but they are organized, and 66 municipalities are organized as an association, and they cover 86,000 people. They will try to introduce a smart card where you'll be able to have business-to-business exchanges and people-to-people exchanges. This is in a very early stage. They actually do not have a solid concept yet of how to do it, but they hope that they can do it. This project, if it comes through, will run for 2 years. So we will have time for preparation and for implementation. In many cases, you hear a lot about how pilot projects funded from outside failed because they didn't have enough time to prepare, or they didn't have enough funding to do solid preparation. I think with 2 years and with 2 projects here that already run, we have a chance of showing some results. Chiemgauer, I mentioned it already. Documenta in Spain is also one of my favorites. Although they haven't started anything yet, but Documenta is an NGO working on employment, local development, and they've established a system of service checks. These checks at the moment are subventioned from the European Union and from private businesses, but it actually means they have partners in the regions that are behind those checks, and if they could make the switch from subvention system to complementary currencies, I mean, it has a lot of possibilities. But they have the structure to do that, and I think that's really solid. They are also acknowledged by regional and local government in Cantabria, northern Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, just add one little tidbit.
Yeah.
For those of you who may be interested in community development and sustainable economic communities, the first example listed there, the Italian one, is actually the community of Damanhur. It is, in my experience around the world, the most economically successful community. It's a fairly large group.
800, yeah.
It's not marginal. And they have designed an economic system that works. And what's interesting about it is a perfect demonstration of what I showed in my presentation with the 2 wheels. They have 2 currency systems, the credito, which is equivalent to the yuan currency, equivalent to the euro, and they have a time currency. And they mobilize both systems. There we have actually a living demonstration, other than Bali in the West. Those two systems work very well.
And they have the third currency, which is euro too.
Yeah,
They
the
still,
euro, that's
yeah.
the national currency.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking they've
But
designed a dual currency system exactly
in one,
the yin-yang
yeah,
model that
right.
we're talking
Yeah, yeah.
One of the reasons why Domineering is prosperous, and I've been there, is that the way that their community is set up to have a certain membership in Domineering, you have to hand over all of your assets to Domineering, and when you leave, you do not get any back for a certain category.
For a certain category of citizens.
Yes.
That's the strongest citizen.
Yeah.
Yes. So
There are
that's
three other
why
ones.
they accumulate a lot of money, more so than other communities.
But that's the key. That's not the key for
But
That's not the key.
But it's
Yeah.
also a big aspect.
I'm just not denying that part. I'm just saying that's a small part. If you
But
I've seen the books.
yeah.
I've gone over the stuff.
No, and
I have been there too, and I discovered something I didn't like.
I know.
yeah, well, there are.
And I think it's
I
important
didn't
to bring
say
that.
it was a community that I want to live in, that I believe in a community that has a guru, which is a completely different discussion. I'm
No,
only
but
limited to the economic dimension.
I agree with Bernard that really what they have achieved in terms of businesses and local development and capital for local development is something out of the ordinary. That's, I mean, I take my hat off.
However, mind telling us what there is.
It's
Well, you already said the community with the guru. At the point that I want to do,
Italy.
that's when I
In
met
Italy,
Agniezska. We were there because it was studying the complementary currencies and the models. It was early on, 99.
99.
And when Russ left, when Hildur and Ross Jackson left, they brought this accountant who started to tell us how the community was going to be backed by the real estate. So this is real. Well, the fact was that they bought the real estate for nothing because this was a very depressed area. And then they wanted to tell us that the real estate that they were using for backing was worth a fortune because they have sold between themselves one small parcel for a very high amount. So they said, we bought it for $1 an acre, and now it's worth $10,000 an acre because we have this reference to prove it. Therefore, their currency had a lot of backing, and therefore the currency was
Next
much better
workshop.
than anybody else, and that's
Okay.
what we need to use. The credit
Okay.
to
We,
finance all the operation.
Oh, well, okay, we have to finish. Anyway, the last thing I want to mention, sorry, Sergio, the last thing with the EU project I want to mention is that we'll have simulation and modeling on software. It means if we get that money, we can make this simulation software available to any complementary group in the world to come and check it and show the results. Aspects of corporate social responsibility, knowledge transfer, and mainstreaming. Mainstreaming meaning consciously proposing complementary currencies as a solution to the mainstream, and of course workshops, conferences, and so on. And, well, I think we skipped this, all these partnerships. The budget, already I forgot a zero here, 790,000 euro have actually been promised to us by municipalities, associations, and governments. This is money that's just waiting there to start the project. So, this is Moneta, yeah. I hope we get it. And please take a flyer for the European conference if you...
Thank you. I'd like to make an announcement if it hasn't already been in here. There's a